Due to the following CBS School Break special, Magnum PI will not be seen today. It will be broadcast tomorrow in the regular time period.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntra's here trying to fix his hair. It's almost impossible. But happy to welcome Stephanie Phillips back to Word Balloon. Hey, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
As always, absolutely. My pleasure. One of Stephan, my favorite things to talk about are combat sports. And I'm very happy to see that she has a brand new graphic novel, and that is 8 Limbs. Nice cover. Is that your regular artist that did the cover?
No, the cover is Dan Panosian.
Oh, that's great. We love Dan. Absolutely. And here's an alternate cover. Excellent. And obviously you can tell right there that they're wearing boxing gloves, but it's Muay Thai. And it's Joe and Mari, the story of Joe and Mari. And I'll let you give me the 10-cent pitch on 8 Limbs.
Yeah. It is, it's about Muay Thai, like you said, which is a sport, the national sport of Thailand. It's a very dangerous form of boxing, slightly like kickboxing, but the rules are different. But a former Muay Thai fighter who retires to coach and kind of run her own gym, and she takes in a foster child named Mari, who has a kind of a violent past, and it's about them bonding through Muay Thai as Mari kind of learns what Muay Thai is and how to do it from Joanna, and also about what their relationship is like and their family lives are like through Muay Thai.
You're someone that practices combat sports. Do you specifically do Muay Thai?
Yes, yeah, that's what I did for a long time. I fought for years, and then I coached like Joanna in the book. When I kind of finished my time in the ring, I spent time coaching.
Pardon me. Mm-hmm. No, that's great, and Muay Thai is close enough to my favorite sport, traditional boxing, and there is boxing involved, but obviously there's kicking as well. So, how long did you compete?
Yes, I did. I competed for a while. And then it first started with like eye trouble. And I ended up having eye surgery. And I never really recovered well from the eye surgery. As I was training to like go back into the ring, the eye surgery had like all kinds of complications, which is stupid because it was supposed to make fighting easier. And then it made it more complicated and difficult. So, I tried to go back into fighting after the surgery and realized I had all kinds of other problems like back issues. I've had some back procedures done on my spine. So it's a tough sport on the body, and it's kind of something I wanted to show through the character of Joanna, which is like she stepped out of the ring and like she really misses it and wants to do it, and then there's these like physical limitations that come along with it. And then on top of that, Joanna in the story had just had a baby, so it's like even more physical complications added to like wanting to go back into the ring, which is it's a very, very real thing. I think I know quite a few former Muay Thai fighters, and it's interesting like watching what they do. One is like very big into swimming, one does marathons. There's another fighter I know, he got super into European football or soccer and plays all day it's like we just want to continue with a sport, but it's so rough on your body that it's about finding something else you can do. And I've been on that path. I tried swimming for a little while, which I hate. I don't like water. I'm like a cat.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was like I think I
Huh.
joined. I lived in New York. I like joined a place to go swimming, and I think it was like the second time I came in, like I went swimming twice and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Third time I came in and they're like, the pool's closed today because like somebody went to the bathroom in the pool and they had to drain it and clean it. And I was like, yep, done. That's a sign. That is the universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
The universe, like, nope, you should not be swimming.
No, I understand. And I have doctor friends who are like, you don't even want to know how dirty public pools are. And I'm like, yeah, I use the pool at my gym when I go. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I like swimming, and I always say, especially being a superhero nerd, I feel like I'm flying when I swim. And that's one of the reasons why. Like, and also as any sport, you just get in that routine of just doing laps and stuff, and your brain relaxes, and that's when I think good ideas come to you and stuff. So I'm sorry to hear that, because truly, I mean, that would be good, especially for your back issues and stuff, low impact and everything.
Yeah, it would be, we're trying other things, but
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. God, it's funny too, because here in Chicago, I live kind of close to, I'm assuming, like a branded UFC gym that's off of like Belmont and Broadway.
Yeah,
like that area and stuff. I know Chicago. So yeah, I don't know. And again, I don't know why. I really appreciate, God, this is gonna sound condescending, but I really do appreciate MMA and Muay Thai and all the other disciplines, kickboxing and stuff. But to watch it competitively, it's just not the same thing for boxing. And I noticed too that Tyson Fury wants to fight the current UFC champ.
Oh, okay.
One of the big giant guys. And I mean, my God, we've had wrestlers fight boxers and MMA guys fight boxers. They're doing boxing rules. So I'm expecting another Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor kind of matchup and stuff. And I get it. I don't blame the boxers for doing it, because occasionally when we do get a boxer that tries to do MMA, they usually get their asses kicked, because they really only know the one striking discipline, and they're not used to grapplers and kickers and things. So no, that's a definite advantage. Did you ever spar with like pure boxers and stuff?
I did once, like boxing rules with somebody that was like going professional, and it's frustrating because it's at least for Muay Thai, even if you just do purely on points, your hands score the least amount of points. So usually if we're using hands or punching or anything, it's really to set up the higher scoring hits, which elbows, knees are the highest scoring, kicking. That's kind of where the 8 limbs name comes from, because you can use fists, elbows, knees, shins, and that's 8. So I've had a few people ask about the title. That's what it means. Muay Thai is the art of 8 limbs. It's very, very different, because it's like everything that I am trained to do is usually to like set up the kick, or but I've also sparred with boxers, Muay Thai rules, and it's like, I mean, their hands are great, but as soon as you realize like they really do, like I know somebody who was a straight boxer who wanted to transition, and something he really struggled with was remembering that, like, my arms might not reach you, but like my legs will. So that was always fun, because like he could absolutely, I have a picture somewhere of him straight up punching me in the face, like the moment of impact. He was amazing. But yeah, as soon as I learned, like, all I have to do is like stay out of reach here, and then I would just have fun like kicking. It was so much fun to play with him, like just like go back and forth. And then the minute he would catch me, like, kind of figure out like a cat and mouse game. And as soon as he would figure out a counter to that, then it's like, oh, now I'm screwed and I have to figure out like the next piece of the puzzle. So it makes the sport really fun to get to do those kinds of things with people with varying backgrounds. I mean, I remember once getting caught by somebody who did Taekwondo, which I didn't know anything about. And it was like this weird, like, okay, she missed her kick, and as I stepped forward, she did this weird backwards thing into my chest. And I was like, is this what a heart attack feels like? Like, I don't know what that is. And as soon as she did it, like I remember like her coach and my coach were on the side, and they were laughing, and they were like, well, that's how you learn not to walk into like that style of Taekwondo kick again. And I was like, no, I won't. But now I also know how to do it. and man, that was fun to like learn other styles and like incorporate them in into what you were doing. It was probably one of my favorite parts of practicing.
That's cool. No, that honestly, again, I really have that appreciation of the various disciplines that they can bring in an MMA fight and everything. So that's great. There was a guy I know when I was writing for Ring and Boxing Illustrated, a lightweight, Greg Haugen. He came from kickboxing, and then and actually managed to compete well in the lightweight division and everything as regular traditional boxing. But like I said, no, many a champion, James Toney, Ray Mercer, guys like that, and forgive me, mostly I think of the guys that started doing straight up boxing, and then I'll try this MMA, got their asses handed to them, and yeah, and I mean, no, I get it, and also like you said, it's that muscle memory and reflexes of wanting to kick and not being able to do it when you're just doing straight up boxing and stuff. So for the book, you have a forward where you do an interview with an MMA fighter. Talk about that.
Yeah, Jessica Rose Clark, or she goes by Jessie Jess too. She's a really accomplished fighter. She's been with the UFC. She's done kickboxing. It looks a little bit like on her social page now that she's working towards like a professional boxing debut or something like that, which I could be wrong. I'm just like guessing based on posts, and it looks pretty awesome, so I'm excited. But no, she's a really accomplished, awesome fighter, and like I said, I think I just like through social media have followed and known a lot of fighters over the years, and she's someone I'm really lucky has reached out before. She likes comic books too. I've given her some Harley stuff. I think one of her UFC fights, she went to the weigh-in dressed as Harley Quinn, dyed her hair and everything. So I was like, oh, like cool. I should give you some Harley stuff. And yeah, we've just kind of talked from there. And yeah, we were really lucky that she agreed to do part of the intro for us.
That's great. Who publishes Eight Limbs?
Humanoids.
Oh, that's right, Humanoids. Absolutely, that's great, fantastic. And out now, or did you send me, or did they send me a preview?
Out now. It came out last week.
Oh, that's great. And also everybody, and I'm going to put a banner up saying this: if you want to talk Harley Quinn, you want to talk Catwoman, or recently Rogue Gambit, whatever you want to talk about, Steph is here. And no, that's great. No, this is it's a really lengthy read in a good way. It's over 130 pages. I honestly think you did a great job, and being a fight fan, and also a fight, a fan of fight stories and stuff. I mean, you give us a lot of the kind of tropes that some of my favorite movies and plays, and things like Rocky and Golden Boy and things like that. You can see similarities to that, but also obviously it being women, it's a bit different, and also being MMA, it's certainly a bit different. So forgive me, the name of your artist again?
Julia Lally.
Julia Lally. And again, this is a Panosian cover, but in fact, I can even show pages because I do have the PDF on my computer. So I will. Great artist. Really, really great. So is she a fight fan as well?
I think she got into it through working on the book with me. I know she said it was something she was interested in. And as we were working on the book, I think the challenge for any artist on this is like, unlike a superhero book where you can just have a superhero doing something cool and over dramatic, we wanted this book to look very authentic as much as we could make it, and that required Julia to I would give her reference photos both from me fighting, from videos, things like that. And I'm really grateful that Julia wasn't like I hate this. She got really into it, and I think you can tell because like the body language, the body positioning, it's really good. And I mean, it looks exactly like it should. When somebody messes up, I feel like you can see in their movement in the book how they mess up. And for a comic, which is a static medium, it feels very alive when you read through it, like pages that Julia did with no borders and, people moving throughout the page. It's like, there's a really cool flow to the way that I think Julia did the fight scene. So yeah, we were really lucky to work with her on this for sure.
I absolutely agree with you. I think, no, you absolutely capture the moves, the action that you would normally see. And yeah, I mean, honestly, for people who maybe no traditional boxing, and I mean, really, who am I kidding? Good Lord. MMA is eating boxing's lunch as far as popularity and awareness and everything. And I can't tell you how many times honestly, when you come back up to Chicago with some of the big fights coming up, we should right by Ayat Comics in Skokie.
Okay.
There's a pizzeria that gets all the boxing and MMA pay-per-views, and invariably there'll be competing cards of boxing and MMA on the same night, and there's no cover. So we just have to drink and eat dinner or whatever, and we're fine. But I have to admit, there are many fights that I'm watching the boxing side, and I'm looking at the MMA, and the action in the MMA is a lot more competitive and active than two heavyweights hugging each other for 12 rounds.
Yeah.
So I mean, only in Muay Thai, what are the rules professionally in terms of length of a round and how many rounds for fights?
It'll depend on like if it's a title fight. Kind of MMA does that as well, like how many rounds and things like that. Usually it's like 5-minute rounds, and you'd either do 3 of those or more if it's a title fight, which sometimes in the US it's a little different. So Muay Thai is not yet like super big in the US. Oh, and sometimes for amateur, you'll even do like 3 rounds of 3 minutes or something like that. They'll lower it even more. But a lot of times I was competing under kickboxing rules because Muay Thai has not yet fully emerged too much in the US. There's a couple fight cards that are trying very hard to change that. There was one for a while that I think went away because they had some money problems. Sounds familiar. But kickboxing seems to be like really dominant, which then there's the change of like, okay, in kickboxing, sometimes I would forget that it's kickboxing rules and not Muay Thai rules. So like they'll break you up in the clinch, which in Muay Thai would score you a lot of points to clinch and throw knee. Like you want to do that.
Sure.
And in kickboxing, they'd be like, no, you're not doing this. And it's like, it's like having somebody take away a large set of your training. So it was always nice when we could find a Muay Thai, a true Muay Thai fight card. That was always the best.
That's cool. No, I understand. Len, the Englishman in San Diego, is watching us and just wants to say, I'm so glad to watch the show live and with the awesome Stephanie Phillips. Very nice. I don't know if you know Len yet.
Yes.
Great guy. Great guy. And he's going to be busy this week with San Diego. You are not going to San Diego.
No, I am not.
That's cool. That's all right. Hey, and I was glad you were at ALA. Wasn't that an interesting show? Is that your first ALA?
Yeah, it was awesome. That was like, I don't know. I feel like all Comic Con should be required to go to ALA and just get the vibe. Like this is, but it's probably a librarian thing. I think librarians are just some of the coolest people on the whole entire planet. So, an entire convention filled with them is gonna be a good place to be. You feel so safe and like comfortable, and it was a cool place.
Well, you're right. It's at McCormick Place where we have C2E2 as well. And I don't know if it's because a lot of them are nonprofits or whatever, but unlike so many conventions, it's like, oh, there's thick carpeting on the floor. Yeah. So our feet don't hurt. Association show, but it is a different and a very positive vibe because all these librarians are excited to meet all of you authors and comic creators and that. But then you also get the ancillary products that they offer to libraries and stuff. So you're kind of hip to what kind of information technology they've got going, or different things like that. No, I truly do. I've only gone to the ones that are in Chicago, and the last one I think in Chicago was like 5 years ago or something like that. So I'm glad when they come in. And no, it was so great. And running into you and Castellucci and some of the other creators and stuff. And it's like, oh, this is great. So I always enjoy that show. I think it's pretty neat. Now, beyond humanoids, you also have stuff coming up with a brand new player on the scene, and that's Distillery.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I think that'll be cool. What is it, August 30th? I may have the date wrong. That the cut comes out, which is a collection of work from the founding creators of Distillery. So me, Eduardo Riso, Brian Azzarello, Joelle Jones, who I worked with on it. James Hyden.
That's great.
Yeah, I worked with, I got to
great.
work with well. It was pretty exciting for me to be like, oh, this is somebody whose work I loved before I was in comics. And it's like, what an honor to write, even a 5-page story with her. It's like, yeah, that's freaking cool. And yeah, she wrote us a note, myself and the editor, saying she wanted to do something really different with some of the art style and coloring. And I think we were both just like, whatever you want, like you complete 1000% trust. And it is one of the coolest looking things I've seen. So I'm excited that we got to do that.
That's excellent. All right. Again, coming out at the end of August. And much like Steph, I've had the pleasure of karaokeing with Joelle.
Yeah.
me and Patrick took her karaoke when she was in town for a signing. Patrick from Challengers. Yeah, it's no, that's great, and it's great to hear. So, without spoiling, what can you tell us about your story in the anthology?
It's really unusual. It's dark for sure. It is. Yeah, since it's so short, I guess it's a little hard to spoil, or hard not to spoil. But it's got some elements. It's based on a true story of a mortician that falls in love with a corpse. It is. It's difficult to call it a love story, but it's told from the perspective of somebody that clearly has a lot of issues. Yeah, so it's very brief. It's dark. Yeah, I know it's appeared in other media as well, because this person that it's based on is very talkative about her experience as the mortician in this case. And I know there have been, I'm trying to think, there was some, what is the show that did it? There's a show that like did a whole episode inspired by this case. But yeah, Joelle and I wanted to do our own version of it. And really it comes from like when it was like, oh yeah, I'd love to work with you, Joelle, they're going to feature all the creators in this. What kind of thing do we want to do? And yeah, Joelle sent me this message of like stuff that she wanted to draw and like kind of elements that she wanted to include. And I was like, yeah, perfect. We can do that. That's fine. And yeah, so
that's cool. How many pages?
It's only 5. Ours is 5 pages. I think the full thing is maybe around 80. Sure. It might be more, something like that. But
okay. Honestly, Steph, my first awareness of you was doing that DC Valentine thing, and you did that 10-page or 8-page Wildcat story.
Yeah, with Riley Rossmo, one of my favorite people on the planet to work with, and just in general favorite people. So yeah,
that's great. And honestly, I think you have a good handle on those kind of brief stories and everything, because I remember before DC started doing those kind of anthologies with those kind of short stories, and talking to older creators that used to do 6-page stories or 8-page stories back during the Bronze Age and stuff. It's like, that's good training. Yeah. And, again, so I think even only having that few stories or pages in this thing, easy for you in the story, or was it harder?
I would say it was a little tough. 5 is definitely short, but I was taught to think of stories like this as a joke, like the same structure of a joke, like your setup and your punchline kind of coming at the end. And so I think once you break, it's actually like, I think maybe 5 pages is actually maybe a little easier than 10 pages, which I just did a 10-page story for something Marvel's doing. And I actually think that's almost a little harder, because it's like, oh, if you said it was 8, like, you can't expect certain things. And like, you expect something that's a little bit more brief and hard hitting. And here there's like, oh, now I have these extra pages to elaborate on this, which I didn't want to do. Which it's just interesting. Like I think the 5-pager, I'm proud of the way it came out. And I'm like I said, I'm just honored to have worked with Joelle on something and tried to not get in her way for what she wanted to do with the story. So yeah, I like the short ones sometimes, and I'll take on something that I want to do. For Distillery, I I was excited to be in the group of, founding creators that are kind of like showing off that we're excited to be with this company.
That's great. No, I'm really looking forward to the output that Distillery is going to do. And again, it's, if people don't know, it's run by Dave Steinberg and Chip Mosier, who really, I think, did us all a great service with their years at Comixology. And I think Chip is a good, kind of shit detector in terms of getting the right people and good people to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I've always appreciated it. And yeah, David too. And I'm really glad that they're still in the comic business, because I was worried when they left Amazon and Comixology, and it's like, oh, that's too bad, man. These guys are, they're the reason why the product was so good. Did you ever do anything with them at Comixology?
I did, yeah. That's how I met Chip, and I think that's how I got pulled in. I did 2 books with Chip. And I always had a really good relationship with him. So
cool. What were the titles? Which books did you do with them?
I did We Only Kill Each Other with Peter Krause, and
sure, Pete's great. Yeah.
Beatrix Rose. It was an adaptation of a pre-existing novel. And Chip kind of tapped me to come work with the author and adapt it to comics for Comixology.
That's cool. That's cool. Once again, 8 Limbs out from Humanoids and out now. Just came out last week. That's all great. You wrapped up your Marvel story, your Rogue Gambit little romance. And I don't mean little, and that little thing you did.
Yes.
Whatever. But
and I think Cosmic Ghost Rider also wrapped up this week. But
that's great. That's excellent.
Unless I'm tagged in something, I don't know anymore. Or unless I get the comps, and usually I get the comps after they're out. So then I'm like, oh, that came out, which is terrible. Like I need to be so much better about that. But it's, it's like in my attempt at being less online, I know I miss things. So
no, and I understand. And believe me, God, are you going to do Blue Sky or Threads or any of that bullshit? Well, honestly, Steph, I mean, I look at social media as a necessary evil. Get the word out about the podcast and everything. Yeah, so, I mean, I so respect your feelings on that, but also it's like, what do you, beyond whatever the publishers do to promote your stuff, are you just content with that? I mean, how do you see it?
I think that's a good question. In like early days, I think I was very much like taking on more PR stuff on my own, like I really wanted to. And I think even though I do it less, it's not that I'm not championing the book more. I think it's choosing to work with places like Distillery or Boom that I know are going to have this very big PR push, because I think in working with any publisher, there's a give and take, right? Like I have great relationships and great deals with some of those companies. And a part of that deal for me is like, okay, if I'm going to be giving up IP or rights or something, whatever it is that I'm giving up in the deal, I really want a big part of what I'm getting in return to be a strong retailer relationship and PR push from the company. And I mean, initially that was like a huge thing with Boom. I know a lot of retailers that were like, their retailer outreach is like unparalleled. Like I have a friend that owns a couple shops, and she would just gush about like retailer relations from Boom. And I was like, oh, this is like stuff I want to know. I like hearing that. And it made my initial decision to do Grimm with Boom. It was like kind of based on what I was hearing actually from retailers more than anything. Because I was like, well, if that's working, that's, less on me to tweet something, or I don't know, what do you call it when you Instagram something? When you Instagram it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I do. I like being a little less online. I like, I like focusing better on my work, and I like engaging more fully in the things that I'm doing that aren't social media. And yeah, maybe I'm missing out on some of that a bit, but.
You ever go to one of those retailer summits that Diamond does where the publishers are there? And
no, I haven't.
Okay. Because no, I hear you about Boom, and I do want to talk about Grimm. That's great to hear. And I know that Boom, I have gone, and I'm always just a fly on the wall. I don't want to, interfere with the pitch that they're doing to stores, and to hear the feedback from stores and everything. So no, I hear you. Let's talk about Grimm. How many are you on? 11? How many? What issue are you on now? God, I don't know.
I know what issue I'm writing. I think 11 just came out. Yes, I think you're right. 11 just came out. Yeah, that would mean next month is 12. We're working on like 14 and 15 right now, I think. So, yeah, it's moving.
And forgive me, who's your artist on Grimm?
Flaviano, and he's phenomenal. Just another wonderful collaborator. And again, I think his work should be talked about more. It's really incredible.
That's cool. No, I look forward to when I get the PDFs and everything. That's great. I've always appreciated your creator-owned stuff as much as I have when you work for DC and Marvel. And I think back to things like Artemis and the Assassins that you did for Aftershock, and your espionage book. What was it? Red
Atlantis.
Red Atlantis. Yeah. No, that's good stuff, man. Come on. I mean, listen, and I know you love horror, and I'm glad you do horror. Don't get me wrong. But I gotta admit, I do like some of the adventure stuff and the espionage stuff. That tickles my fancy, if you will. So, it's interesting. Here's another comment from Len. He says, you could say the artist and creative team's job is to create the work. It's our job as interviewers and bloggers to spread the word. Sure, that's why I'm talking to Steph, along with the comic book shops. Absolutely. No, that's great. And again, I know you spent a lot of time here in Chicago too. Have you got to know a lot of the local stores?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you know, I think I spent a lot of time at Challengers. Thank you, Len.
Len's saying a nice thing about Red Atlantis, and I quite agree. It does kick ass. Yes.
I've been into a couple other shops, but I'm really bad with names. I know there's one around, I believe, Wrigley, because I'll walk like Wrigley sometimes, and I know there's over there I've walked into a few times. And I don't remember the name, but
no shame on me. I can't think of it either. And really, no, we're really lucky in Chicago in terms of the amount of stores that we have, both in the city and the burbs as well.
I'm noticing,
yeah, for real, yeah. I mean, yeah, by you, and forgive me, I forget which Miami or which Florida city you're in.
So my parents are in Tampa, and that's. I just did a signing in St. Pete this past weekend for 8 Limbs or Clearwater at Emerald City, which is a great store.
Cool.
But I guess like Emerald City, I think is when I'm with my parents, I'll go visit there. And Chicago, I know I appreciate Challengers. So.
Yeah, no, again, I mean, the best stores. They really understand and make it, that's our nerd clubhouse, is going to a place like Challengers. And Dal and Patrick are incredible marketers. And I gotta say, man, Art and Franco's store in Skokie is, from a management standpoint, Mark Hammond went with Franco and moved to New York, but Joe and the staff over there in Skokie and stuff, those guys are great, and it's a great suburban store. Yeah. So we were talking about Alley Cat the other day, another good Chicago store. So that's cool. You were telling me off the air and stuff, you're going to kind of take it easy on conventions for a while?
Yeah, for a little bit. I know I'm doing something in November in New York City, and I think that's really my only confirmed thing for the rest of the year.
How was you were on a big European tour?
Yeah.
And I don't know how many cons. Well, you were telling me and Cecil and everybody about the experience in Greece. And honestly, no, I'm going to go to Dublin next March for a show. And I'm very excited about that. And it's my first real European show. So I'm very excited. But yeah, tell me about the vibe at some of these, how many you were on a massive trip. You went to a lot of different countries. How many different countries, and how much of it involved stopping in, doing a convention, doing a signing or whatever? Yeah, tell me about that.
6 countries in 2 months, and let's see how many conventions. We did a convention, Italy, Greece, and Budapest, and a signing in Spain.
Wow.
And then 2 countries were just kind of personal visits. But no, it's always interesting to see like translations of stuff I didn't know was translated. That's really interesting. Like last year I did a show in Vienna, and I didn't realize how much of my work was translated into German. Like I didn't know that at all. And I was like handed all these German editions of things, and I was like, that's wild. That's awesome. So that's always, I think, really cool. And getting to do Napoli Comic Con, I got to do with Flaviano, the artist of Grimm, for the release of the Italian edition of Grimm with Salda Press while we were there. So that was awesome, like getting to set up at the Salda booth. And Napoli Comic Con was humongous. And like really seeing like their publishers and what's going on in Italy. That was awesome. And then, you know, the more personal vibe of Greece or Budapest, and then, you know, Spain obviously is just a signing. So it was, I think, even more personal getting to like talk to people coming in, and thankfully having a translator that could help a little bit with that, because my Spanish, I took French, so my Spanish isn't good. No, it was, I think that's my favorite part, is getting to travel and like see my work in places I never would have expected. Again, seeing like Spanish editions of Grimm and Harley and things like that. It's like, I didn't even know some of this existed. And yeah, and then coming home to like the French edition of Grimm sitting on my doorstep was neat. And I was like, okay, so France has to be next.
That's amazing. No, you know, now that's all handled through, I'm assuming, the publishers who have European deals to distribute their stuff. So, I mean, and forgive me, I don't want to get in your business per se, but do you see any money from the European stuff or no?
Not DC or Marvel. Or honestly, I don't know about Marvel. I don't think I've been there long, but I'm just assuming it's kind of working the same way DC does. No, I don't think with DC or Marvel. And again, I could be very wrong there. But with Grimm, like the deals that we're doing with international publishers, Flaviano and I are involved in the deal. So in some instances, there's more than one publisher that wants the book in a certain country, and we get to say like, all right, this is the publisher we'd like to go with. So we're a little bit more actively involved in it, and yes, we do see money from that deal.
That's good to hear, and I wasn't sure. Do you know at all David Macho?
Yes, yeah, he was with us in Spain. So.
Oh, that's great. That's excellent. No, I've gotten to know him, especially during the lockdown period, and I'm fascinated by how American comics do in the European market. And I would also think that I'm sure that there are obviously DC and Marvel fans, but I would think too the fact that you do non-superhero adventure and horror and things, that obviously that shit probably plays a lot better than
maybe. Yeah, I mean, in some places it's a little hard to tell. Like, I mean, in Napoli Comic Con, it was a huge, like, not DC specifically, but Panini, who publishes in Italian. Panini had a huge presence, and, you know, seeing lots of DC oriented cosplay. But then you go to somewhere like Belgium, and we went into a lot of comic shops, and the comic shops, it's like all I guess what we would call creator owned. I don't know that they function the same way, but these French comics that are lots of Westerns, actually, like lots of Westerns, lots of crime. And then there's like maybe one box of Big Two, and that's it. And it's like a few things in there, not much. But it's that, at least from what I saw in Belgium, it was far less focused on that, which was interesting.
I'm sure it was. No, I again, I was so bummed. I haven't been to Europe in 20 years, and this was even before I was doing the podcast. And I was in Amsterdam, and it was a Sunday, and I was so bummed the comic book store was closed. And I'm like, oh man, I would love to go in and see that stuff. And how about the Orient? Are you going to try and go to some of the Asian countries and stuff? And
I mean, I would love to. I think Tokyo Comic Con would be fun. I've personally spent a lot of time in China, but I have no idea if they have a Comic Con in China. So that would be That'd be interesting if they did. I know Tokyo has a big one, and I've never been to Tokyo, so I really want to go to Tokyo because they have those cafes, like animal themes. Like we have cat cafes, but Tokyo has other animals, and they have a raccoon cafe. And my only dream in life is to hold a freaking raccoon. That's all I like. If I got hit by a bus like an hour after, I would be like, yeah, that's fine. Like I've accomplished, I've met the goal. I'm there, I'm good. And it
What's the
feels like
deal with raccoons, man?
I love them. Like
All right.
I'm
Roll
so
hands.
empathetic towards little garbage creatures and like my own creatures that inhabit the house. Like they're also garbage animals that like were found in the garbage. So I don't know. Maybe it's just creatures that come from the garbage. It's like, yes, join me together in our dumpster. But I would love to hold a raccoon. So
Oh man. No, that's great. What kind of pets do you have?
cats.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, and they get in garbage and stuff. Right?
But I'm also like, when I was a kid, I know I came home with a possum.
Wow.
Yeah, I would come home with animals a lot, which is how I think 4 cats is where my parents finally stopped me and were like, you have to stop. I brought home birds, um, lizards in Florida. I don't know if anybody else did this, but you would take like the little lizards that run around, and when they would try to bite you, you let them hang on your ear, and they would like bite your ear. You call it a Florida piercing. Um, but the time I brought home a dead possum that had given birth, like it must have maybe died giving birth, and it had all these baby possums, and I brought home like, well, first I went and got like a box or something to put it in, and then I came home with this possum and all these baby possums. And yeah, that one I think was fun because my parents were like, we don't know what to do with your box of possums. Like that is, we didn't wake up and consult the parenting manual on what happens when your daughter brings home a dead possum that gave birth to 5 tiny possums. So,
Wow.
but kudos to my parents that did find a place to actually help take in the baby possums instead
That's
of
great.
like throw it in the backyard.
All right, I'm impressed. The Phillipses are good parents. That's very good to hear. That's excellent. All right, Len, another comment from Len, and it's cute. He's like, I got to fly to Dublin to meet you in person. And then he says, we need to get both of you at Thought Bubble. I would love to go to Thought Bubble. Have you done it, Steph?
I have not, no.
Yeah.
That's definitely on the list. I would love to do Thought Bubble as well.
Absolutely. I'm so with you on that. Len, I wish I were going to San Diego. As I refer to it, really expensive summer camp. I mean,
I think I do have a picture from like one of the last San Diego's I went to. Like I had a backpack full of stuff I had to bring somewhere. And yeah, I think there was a picture of like a couple of us, and we all had like backpacks, and it's like, it looks like comic summer camp. Like,
exactly. Well, it's all of our out of town friends. We're all in the same place.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, and I would always do like the 5 days. I'd, start Wednesday and leave Sunday or whatever, Monday or whatever. And it's like, yeah, man. And also just, again, the international friends. I always look forward to seeing the Australians, like Tom Taylor and Nicola Scott. And it's like, and, they're on a totally different clock, given that it's, around the world, a different time zone and stuff. So, for our 3 in the morning is like their 10 a.m. or whatever the time
I know, because I'm trying to plan out when I'm watching the Women's World Cup, and it's like, some of these games are absolutely okay. So I'm going to set an alarm and wake up to watch something at 4 a.m.
Yes.
I mean, I like them, but
honestly, Steph,
I'm going to be missing.
I love the sports streamers out there like ESPN Plus and DAZN, because right now there's an amazing Japanese bantamweight fighter, and his last name is Inoue. And this guy is like watching Roberto Duran when he was a lightweight. He is one of the most lethal punchers I've ever seen. And his fights are from Tokyo. So a lot of times it's a Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. or whatever. Yeah. And I do wake up, and I don't know, man. Again, I guess being such a broadcast nerd, I'm just so thrilled to be watching an international live match like that. Yeah. And I'm like, fine, I'll watch it, and then I'll roll back to sleep, and maybe I'll sleep till noon to get my proper hours. But I love it. I really love it. Who are you rooting for the Women's World Cup?
The U.S. Yeah,
Oh, well,
it's
of
like
course.
the most patriotic I feel is like, let's go, like Megan Rapinoe.
What do you think of the WNBA? Do you watch it?
I've been watching actually a little more. I feel like I never really watched, and then lately, I think because I follow a lot of like ESPNW content, I was being given like fed the WNBA
Sure.
content, and the more of it I've watched, the more impressed I am because I watch a lot of sports, and out of any sport that I play, watch, whatever, I feel like the NBA and WNBA has the smallest gap between player skill levels.
Oh,
Um, in the most impressive way, where you're watching it like these women are monsters, like in an amazing way. But like I still feel like there are, and I was just having this conversation last night actually about the way I grew up playing hockey initially, so
yeah.
like the women's professional hockey is undergoing a lot of issues at the moment, a lot of revamping. There were kind of two leagues, kind of. There was one very established league, and very established. I mean, it was like maybe 8 years old, that had gotten to a point where they were like really able to pay players in a way that was kind of unprecedented for women's hockey. They got bought out and then abolished essentially. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but the intent is to make one league. So a lot of the like national league players, like Olympians that were playing in this kind of exhibition style league that really just had like two teams that were playing each other, it's now supposed to absorb all of these players. So it'll start off smaller and then hopefully grow. But right now it looks like multiple steps backwards in the hockey world. So, but I was just talking about this because the skill level between women hockey players and male hockey players is just genuinely different. And I think I can speak to that a bit as somebody that was trained in a different way from male hockey players, where that when you step on the ice with men, it's like there are things that they are trained to do that you just aren't, or there's a seriousness to their training that doesn't exist. I think, you know what, probably now it's a little different.
I
Like
was going to
with
ask if it's changing to the
maybe
better.
like,
Yeah.
when I was a kid and I wanted to play, the women's Olympic hockey didn't even exist. So yes, I'm sure right now the setting is very different than what I know.
Yeah.
But when there aren't prospects for women to go out and make a living as a hockey player, you're not going to train them as if this will be your job
I understand.
versus men who get to go through these academies and programs that are training you to do this as a job. And yeah, we were kind of talking about that with like Premier League and their academies. Arsenal has an academy and Chelsea has an academy with players that grew up through it and are now playing for these teams. And they have amazing women's programs, which is one of the huge reasons I support Arsenal. It's like their women's program is amazing,
Cool.
and I love that. I like seeing that grow, and I think that's probably changing a lot. But yeah, WNBA is like one of those that I watch, and I'm like, it looks like what, like there's one player that I can't remember her name, but I watched her in the All-Star competition, and I was like, this is just Steph. She's doing the same thing Steph Curry does. Like,
no, I hear you, and truly, you can see the level of professionalism as the sport has evolved. I mean, I again, spending 20 years in sports radio and stuff, I certainly saw the evolution, and I'm glad to hear that. In fact, today I was driving around, and I guess and I forget who it is, damn it, but it's one of the NBA vets who just retired recently, bought into the Chicago Sky.
Oh,
And that was a big news story on public radio today, and
that's really cool.
it was cool to hear. Yeah, I again, I'm amazed. And back to combat sports, again, both what I've seen in MMA, but really boxing. Hey, literally when I started covering boxing back in like 1989 and 1990 and stuff, women's boxing existed, but it was so small, and it was hard to find good opponents. We had great fighters. We had Mia St. John. We had Lucia Riker. They were wonderful. Thank you, Don. It was Dwayne Wade, yes, that is now investing in the Chicago Sky. Yeah, but yeah. And I guess I didn't even know Dwayne Wade was a Chicago, native.
No, I
I
didn't
was,
know either.
yeah, but
I
because
really want to go to Sky Games. I was told they play somewhere kind of weird. I don't know what that means by
I
like
don't.
somewhere
Maybe
kind of
Don knows where they play. I don't know where they currently
weird.
play.
Because
Yeah,
I think isn't Mallory Swanson on? I mean, she's injured for the World Cup, but I think she's a Sky player because her husband is Dansby Swanson on the Cubs.
okay. Oh wow, that's cool. I was
So
gonna
every time I go see a Cubs game, I'm like, "There's Mallory's husband."
That's like Fred Van Lente's.
Him. I knew Mallory before, like I knew him who Al Swanson was before I knew who Dansby Swanson was.
In comics, Fred Van Lente's wife, Crystal Skillman, and they've done nerd projects together. They wrote King Kirby, a play about Jack Kirby's life.
Nice.
But I have good when I go to New York for Comic-Con, I stay with two friends that are playwrights and actors. And I met Crystal through Fred, Crystal Skillman, his wife. And they're very in tune with, off Broadway and the whole theater scene in New York. And I don't know how it came up, but they're like, Crystal Skillman? And literally, I'm like you just said, I'm like, Fred's wife? Of course I know Fred's wife. And I love her. She's such a sweetheart. I truly, she was at C2E2 with Fred. And I don't know if you had the chance to meet them yet. They're lovely people.
No.
They really are. They're great. They're really funny. And God, I even Crystal had a great play that was running in Chicago about kids of a grunge rock star woman who killed herself, and the kids are doing a tribute concert in Seattle, and she needed a radio announcer for the play. And she's like, "Would you be the radio announcer?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I love it. I hadn't done theater since college." I'm like, "Oh, this is fantastic. I love this." So yeah, no, Crystal's great. But I was gonna say about boxing, man. Now, like, there is really, and truly, forgive me, everybody. I don't mean to sound incredulous when I say it, but there are amazing boxing matches between women now. It's incredibly competitive. And honestly, Steph, I'm curious about your years of Muay Thai and stuff. And forgive me, but like, I don't see any damage. How did you manage to come out of it with a good face?
No, I can, like, some days I can't walk.
Well, and I hear you there, but like, how many punches to the face or kicks to the face? And did you ever break your nose or anything crazy?
No, I mean, I've had bloody noses.
Okay, sure.
I always wore a mouth guard. I never lost. I've had a lot of concussions.
Poor thing, my God.
But the worst concussion I've ever had was from hockey, actually, not Muay Thai. That is like the blackout out from the world concussion was hockey, and like not having any memory of what happened. That was a hockey hit. That kind of is like, we'll see how much I'm back on the ice, because it's just like a beer league thing. And when somebody hits you that hard, you're like, I'm an adult with a job that I now like am going to struggle to do because you thought there was a scout at this 11 p.m. ice rink in Buffalo, New York. Like, what? So yeah, adult sports are fun. I've been playing a lot of before I went and was traveling, I was playing a lot of soccer. It's a little easier on my body. And I say that knowing full well that like a second game in there, I think you're not supposed to tackle, but it's fun to do that. Or you get just tangled up and stuff happens. So, something is usually cut up or whatever, but it's still, for me, that's like, it's not a sport that I grew up playing, so there's like maybe a less competitive edge, or there's less of a need to be perfect in it. Whereas hockey, it's like you miss something. It's like, I was taught better than that. Like, what am I doing? Like, I want to be better. But with soccer, I get to, I think, maybe just enjoy it more. And usually there's a sub. You can sub in and out and like regular football rules. So it becomes a little easier to go sit if like my back is hurting or something, which sounds terrible, but I get a bit of a break.
Got a girl. No, that's awesome. Pumpkin Time. I'm so glad you're bringing this up, Pumpkin Time. He loved your, or she, I'm not sure if Pumpkin Time's a man or a woman, but loved your story on Silver Coin. How was that experience working with Michael Walsh?
Yeah. Oh, that was great. Michael is a fantastic artist, especially with horror. Yeah, I was really, really glad when he reached out and asked me to write something. And immediately, I think I sent him an email back about this like World War II, some myths and like horror stories that circulated from World War II, and kind of the way I wanted to use them to tell a story. And he was like, "This is why I asked you, because I wanted to do this kind of thing in Silver Coin, like something a little bit more like historical fiction based and soldiers." And man, did he draw the crap out of that. That looks so good.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. Apparently, Pumpkin Time is a they. My apologies, Pumpkin Time. I certainly didn't want to mislabel you with the wrong pronouns, so thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. No, I blew it with Michael. I meant to do something with him when Silver Coin was coming out. Zdarsky talked a bit about his story. What can you tell us about your story about it that was in there? Was it all one story and chapters, or were they individual stories? I thought they were individual.
An anthology, yeah. There's something that ties all the stories together, but they are standalone stories. So, for mine, it's a small unit of soldiers that they were kind of holding a ridge, and then they have to stay overnight because they get caught in a snowstorm. And one of the soldiers kind of begins to see things and hallucinate. And it's kind of this soldier that's been having trouble killing in war, and he's very intent on proving himself. But when he finally does, it goes very wrong. So, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. I'm excited. You were telling me off the air, and obviously you can't give details, but you got more stuff coming up through Distillery.
Yeah, eventually I will. I think it's a little ways out of announcing something with Distillery. I have something new with Boom. This week, I think I'm announcing something new with Marvel this week, so that will be cool.
Should have waited for the announcement, I guess.
I know, I would have told you if I remembered. Honestly, I just completely forgot.
That's all right.
Yeah, so there will be something new announced this week, which, funny enough, is actually the first thing that I started writing at Marvel. It's the thing that, like, when I had my first conversation with CB about doing work at Marvel, it was kind of like, well, what would you want to do? And I was like, well, ideally it would be this. And I was like, but I know that that's not like a very realistic thing to ask for. So I'm not saying like I must write this story. And actually the next day he called me back and was like, actually I found a way to make this happen. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. I want to do it. Let's go. So yeah, I'm very excited for that announcement. And yeah, I'm doing another new thing for Marvel that's still a bit further out than this one we're announcing. But yeah.
Well, I might blow the announcement with you, but in 2 weeks at Terrificon, I'll have a sit down with CB, and he'll likely spell out the whole canvas of what's coming up on Marvel. So I'll bug him there. And honestly, I'm really glad. And I saw it last year when we were all together at Terrificon that clearly CB enjoys your stuff, and I'm really glad that you've found another place to be welcome and then get stuff out there and everything. I think that's great. And I mean, obviously the ambition is sometimes to pull the DC or Marvel readers to your other stuff. Have you noticed? I mean, really, with Harley and Catwoman and the like, have you had anecdotally fans tell you, I found you through Harley, and now I read Grimm, now I read the other stuff?
I'm sure it happens. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I guess I can tell, like, when I sign things, somebody will hand me Grimm and Harley, and it's like, okay, there's something that draws them to both. And I mean, I think more than anything, like the new book I'm going to be doing at Boom will probably have even more crossover between readers. So that will be exciting. But yeah, I mean, it's good. They feed each other, but you also get to do kind of both. Like, I think I'm at a point now where I'm being maybe a little pickier than I used to be. Like, if I don't have, I mean, I've been asked lately about a few characters where I think on it and it's like, I don't think I have anything to say with them. Like, I just don't, and I don't want to force it. And just for the sake of doing something for the big two. Like I don't want to force doing a story for someone that I'm kind of not feeling the connection with or the excitement about. And I think I've kind of set stipulations for myself about when somebody asks you to do a project, what are the things that I look for in saying yes and wanting to kind of have that conversation. And I mean, a big part is, editorial relationships. People like Annalise Bissa or Alana Smith at Marvel, Sarah Brunstad, Martin Biro. Like these are all people that have made it like really easy to say like, especially Martin pitching Cosmic Ghost Rider to me, a character that I don't think I ever would have seen myself writing. And when I went into the conversation with Martin, I think in my head it was like, I don't know about this. And then going into the conversation with Martin and like jamming on it and being like, it's now a yes. Like, and a large part of that is because Martin was so good at helping me feel excited about the things that I wanted to do with the story. Like, okay, if I am going to tell a story with this character, here are things that I think I want to lean into. And that was like a really cool relationship that we got to develop while working on Cosmic Ghost Rider. So I'm definitely glad they pushed me to do something that I was like, I don't know that I ever would have written a character with cosmic in the title.
Out of your comfort zone. No, I get it. No, that's wonderful. And that is the kind of thing that you hope for. Pumpkin Time, great question. How did you like writing Venom? Love the character very much. Excited to read the book.
Cool. Yeah, that was fun. We got to do a very like Fantastic Four themed story. So it's about Ben Grimm taking on the symbiote. And I love Ben Grimm. So I was like, I was excited that I got to be kind of outside of continuity because the intent behind it was almost to like rebuild a version of continuity. Like if things didn't unfold this way and they went this way instead, here's what it would look like. And the other cool element about it, like on first pass, like talking to editorial, I had this like very concrete ending in mind, and they were like, you know that this is no longer going to exist in continuity, so you can play with. And I was like, oh, okay, so like you mean I can kill people? And it was like, yeah, you can. So it got dark. it got very dark, which I think is appropriate for a Venom story. I wanted there to be elements of horror, and once I was kind of informed, like, yeah, you can exist very far outside of continuity and play with these pieces in a way you couldn't normally. That really became the fun of doing a what if story. It was getting to kind of break all the toys and not have to put them back. So that was cool.
That's
you don't
great.
Do that.
What's that? Say it again.
You don't usually get to do that. Like if you break something, you have to fix it.
Right. You have to reset it for the next creative team. No, yeah, I get it.
I did not do that.
Well, one of my favorite things you did at Marvel was Millie the Spy. Millie the model, suddenly we discover is a SHIELD agent. And I thought that was great. Who was your artist on that again?
You're putting me on the spot. It's been a little while. Yeah. I don't remember.
Okay.
But I know he did a cover for Cosmic Ghost Rider, which I was very excited about. He's really, really wonderful. It's just maybe been a little too long since I've.
Okay. Writing for that vertical presentation, because it was a Marvel Infinite comic and everything. Yeah. Was there anything different that you had to write script wise? I mean, obviously for the artist, there's a bit of a challenge or slight difference. Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely trying to use the format more. Like there's a scene we wrote or we created together where it's like her fighting down a series of stairs, like a zigzagging stairwell.
Yeah.
And stuff in like an elevator shaft, like really trying to think about how we're setting the scene. I know we did some where it's like scrolling down below a boat and like seeing, divers in the water and things like that. And yeah, I think it was just something that I was thinking a lot more about while creating it. And I think that story, it's really gorgeous. I would say the downside for a traditional comic reader, which I guess I feel like I am because I'm not much of a digital reader, is like, I wish I could hold the story. But other than that, I think it was a cool format.
I hope maybe there might be future Millie stories where you do get it collected in a in a physical sense, because no, it's a great story. It's funny. I've really gotten used to reading digitally, and I still love to hold a book and everything and appreciate a book. But it is nice, the convenience, and I have to say, the Infinite Comics really surprised me. I was talking to Lansing and Kelly about their Kang miniseries from a couple of years ago that they represented as an Infinite comic. I didn't even realize it was the same story because they reconfigured it in such a different way. And I'm like, oh, they're hitting on the same themes. And it's and Jackson's like, no, man, it's the same story. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, it was kind of crazy. I hope that they do. I hope Millie the Spy does find its way in a physical way. Well, listen, I will let you go, Steph. Honestly, we've only known each other for a couple of years, but we got to know each other a bit better, and it's really been a pleasure because truly, you're fun. You're a very creative person. I love your writing, and I like singing with you and hanging out with you when we. But I'm really excited about Eight Limbs from Humanoids.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely, bud. No, this is great. Wonderful Panosian cover, and the alternate is pretty cool too. It is out now, and end of August we'll see a short story from Steph and Joelle Jones from Distillery, part of their initial anthology collection. And what's the title on the anthology again for them?
Devil's Cut.
Devil's Cut, absolutely. Announcements from Marvel to come, and a few other companies as well, and of course, stick with Grimm from Boone Studios as well. As always, buddy, it's great to talk to you. Wait, I'm seeing a comment. I want to see if anyone is. Okay, they're just saying good talk. Great comments, everybody. Thank you very much for chiming in. And yeah, I'll see you around when you're back in town and everything.
Yeah, well, a couple of weeks.
Good to hear. Fantastic. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. It's going to be a fun week. I'm not going to Comic-Con, but I will be at Terrificon next weekend. And I hope everybody that's going is prepping and will be fine. But we got a few more guests to talk to this week before Comic-Con kicks in. So don't worry. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.